G'day, I'm Tim Thompson. Today we're fencing off a riparian section along a creek with Alan Upton, who's running some Angus cattle in the beautiful Gara Valley. Now, as you can probably tell in the screen, we had a little bit of rain last night, and the importance of fencing off creeks and waterways, particularly down on this lower flat country, can't be underlined more. As you drive into Alan's property that he's recently taken over and he's rolling up his sleeves to improve, you're reminded of the beauty of the Australian landscape and farms in general. As you cross the ford of the creek that runs through Alan's property though, you're reminded of the issues that exist through prior management practices such as land clearing and the impacts that this has created on normal soil behaviours and water holding capacities, as you watch the tremendous drainage problems that he now faces. And hopefully today gives you a few ideas about looking after your waterways in your grazing and mixed farming operations. So let's go over and say g'day to Alan and find out what's happening today. G'day Alan, how are you mate?
Good morning Tim.
Lovely to see you.
Good.
Thanks for having us on the property again.
We've got the situation here, we've got a creek line here and it's getting a bit eroded away, both from just natural erosion and some wombat activity, a little bit of rabbit activity. The previous owner had installed a concrete spillway here where the water flows off our property down into the creek.
Yep.
And it's got the rabbits or something has got underneath, the water has got underneath and washed it away.
Yep.
And now we're in the process of renewing it and then renewing the fence line along here to let it all regenerate.
So you're also coming in another couple of metres from the creek as well, Alan, just to give it a little bit more distance.
Yeah, some of the erosion over the previous couple of owners has crept the creek this way a little bit, so yes, we are giving it a bit more elbow room.
So a healthier creek means a healthier farm for you.
That's
and
you want line, yes.
You want the place to look better when you leave than when you arrived.
That's the motto. Yes, it's better than what it was when you took the place on. You've had a win.
Yeah, no, good stuff. So it's really important that we don't let the cattle down into the creek here.
Certainly have to control that. Yes.
We've got an example just over the fence of where that is possible for the cattle to get into the creek, and we'll probably show some footage just of how stark that contrast between where you fence them off and where you're just allowing open grazing and just set stocking.
That's it.
So talk us through a little bit about what you've done with the engineering of this spillway, because it looks like it's starting to work, mate.
Well, started off, we did fill it up a bit and tried to get some grass established, but it wasn't, we got too wet a winter and it washed some soil away. So we're now going to put a bit of a pipework system in where we're taking the water from this probably 4 metres above the creek, so it can pipe it in a 150mm pipe back down to the creek.
When Alan was talking just before about wombats and all sorts of critters doing damage to his spillway, you can see the sort of erosion that we're talking about along the creek line here. Beautiful spot though, isn't it? And I'm sure you'll agree, well worth looking after. As I watched the water coming down off the hills at the back of Alan's property and carrying with it so much topsoil after just a couple of days of rain, I couldn't help but be reminded of the conversation that I had earlier this year with Stuart Andrews from Queensland, talking about how the European system of plumbing paddocks is really destroying the Australian landscape. And I can't wait to see what Alan does in the future stages of his property management plan, once the creek's secure, to slow that water down and store it in the ground rather than let it take the topsoil away with it every time it rains. He's a thinker, this bloke, and I'm sure he's going to come up with some great solutions. But first things first, there's a fence to build. So out with the Monroe post driver and auger. This is one of the new model Monroes that simply vibrates on top of the post rather than having a heavy dolly racing up and down on the mast. Much safer for the workers, particularly if you lose concentration for a minute and put your hand on top of the post, perish the cord. Now Alan's a pretty careful fencer, He measures 3 times instead of twice, and very rarely even has to cut the top rail of a box end assembly. It comes from years and years of practice installing very complicated trellising systems in his orchards. He's now applying all that he learnt in the horticultural area to his agricultural pursuits on this new property, and the fences are looking absolutely spectacular as a result. Alan sets about getting the 2 end posts of his new run of fence in exactly the right place so he can run a ground wire and get the fence laser straight. So Alan, you're working at the moment on the guide collar here. We're going up a larger post for the end post, and rather than paying $150 a pop, you manufacture your own guide plates, and you've put these nuts on here as guides so that you can change the diameter for the posts that you drive.
Particularly for the smaller inline posts, this will, I think, will keep the guide the post more perpendicular, not allowing so much movement in this ring. But this is my own innovation. Whether it works or not, we'll find out shortly.
Solid as a rock.
Yep.
Yeah, no, very good.
A little bit of flex in the post there, but it's 1.2 in the ground.
It's not going to go anywhere quick.
Not going to see the end of that for a long time.
With the ends completed, it was now obviously time to run the ground wire and make sure that all of the intermediate posts line up perfectly and make a nice straight fence line. So you're just slightly off centre there. Yeah, beautiful. So we're going to have a nice snug fit with any luck. There should be a bit of flex in the posts.
Alright, let's see if this fits. Done. Let's go home.
I think just looking the way that's fitted in, it's quite neat and tight, but I'll probably still put a little dome of silicone on just to be sure.
With the end assemblies finished at both ends and the ground wire run and strained, it was time to run out these intermediate posts and make short work of them with that fantastic Monroe post driver. Now with the intermediate posts installed, it's time to run out the wires. And I couldn't resist giving Alan a bit of a play with some of those new spinners I reviewed a couple of weeks back. Click the link to have a look at that. First up was the Walters Blue, which did a fantastic job with its automatic braking system and a feeder that just won't jam. After Alan had had a bit of a play with the Walters Blue, we decided to throw the same coil of wire onto the Fenceline Solutions spinner. And this illustrates just what the advantage of having these professional grade spinners are to someone who's doing fencing all day, every day. The changing of coils of wire is effortless and quick with these cartridge style spinners. As always, once you've changed over the coil or you're starting a new coil, you should always run out the first 10 metres or so of the wire just to avoid any initial jams. I tell you what, it's good to use quality tools and equipment when you're doing a job. It just makes it feel so much better. Attaching the wire was easy with Davo's fencing clips. These are an innovation that Alan actually put me onto several months back. Check out the review for more information. Well, Alan, we're just about at the point where I leave you to strain up your fence and enjoy, mate. Thank you so much for having us out here today, looking after an environmentally sensitive riparian area. And thank you for doing that for us. Looking after the local creeks is important.
Yes, important for everybody.
Yeah. Alan, it's always a pleasure being out with you. I thank you for having us. We really appreciate your time, so thank you very much, mate.
Okay, time will tell how well it turns out.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure you found that inspiring. Someone doing great things to look after the natural water supply for all of us, our livestock, our crops and more. If you liked this video, please do hit the little subscribe button down there, give it a thumbs up. It makes a heap of difference. And if you can't wait for next week's video, jump over to timthompson.ag for blogs, reviews and extended content. Till next time, catch you later.